It's 1993. Deep in the barrios of Medellín, a man steps into the humid air of his rooftop safe house, unaware he has less than 60 seconds to live. A single burst of gunfire cracks the silence, and the most wanted man on earth falls dead. Officially, it was the Colombian police who pulled the trigger. By 1992, Pablo Escobar's war against Colombia was no longer just Colombia's problem. The Medellín Cartel was moving over 80% of the world's cocaine and flooding the United States. Escobar had become more than a drug lord. He was a narco-terrorist, a billionaire insurgent waging war against an entire country. Judges, politicians, journalists, police, all murdered. And then there were the civilians, innocents caught in car bombings, children killed in retaliatory strikes. His reach was long, his cruelty limitless. America had had enough. So a secret meeting was held in Washington, D.C., not in the open halls of Congress or the public eye, but deep within the Pentagon's inner sanctum. At that table sat representatives from the CIA, the DEA, and the U.S. Army's most secretive unit, 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment, Delta. Officially, they weren't even in the country. Unofficially, they were already being inserted. Colombian special forces known as Search Block had been trying to catch Escobar for years, but every time they got close, someone talked. Corruption ran so deep that even top generals had been bought off. That's where Delta came in. Not to lead, not to take the shot, but to do what Delta does best: target capture and kill, urban warfare, surveillance, and tracking under extreme conditions. In silence. With deniability, operators were inserted under false identities: military advisors, technicians, communications specialists. They brought with them state-of-the-art gear, encrypted radios, thermal scopes, night vision, and intelligence tools the Colombians didn't even know existed. Their mission was clear: assist the Colombians in neutralizing Escobar by any means necessary. But to find him, they needed to hunt him. Escobar had become a ghost. After escaping a luxury prison of his own design, La Catedral, he vanished into the urban jungle of Medellín, protected by sicarios, or hitmen, and shielded by entire neighborhoods that worshipped him. He used radios to stay ahead, moved every few hours, kept a rotating network of safe houses. His biggest advantage? The people. In the slums of Medellín, he was a god. But Delta had something he didn't: patience, discipline, and eyes in the sky. For months, Delta Force operators and CIA tech teams trained the Colombians to triangulate Escobar's radio signals. They deployed signal interception teams disguised as telephone workers, utility crews, even garbage men. Every time Escobar used a phone or a radio, they got a little closer. And with every inch they closed, the danger rose. Make no mistake, this was a battlefield. Medellín wasn't just a city. It was a war zone disguised as a neighborhood. Every block had eyes. Every call could mean death. Delta Force operators lived in a world of shadows, where a wrong step meant ambush or betrayal. They operated in plain clothes, blending in with DEA and Search Block units. But they were different. You could see it in their movements. Calm under fire, cold precision. One night, a Delta-led Colombian unit rolled into a suspected safe house. As they breached the building, a tripwire triggered a claymore mine on the staircase. 2 Search Block officers died instantly. A third lost both legs. The Delta operator leading the team, named Classified, dragged the surviving Colombian out with one arm, returned fire with the other, and held off 6 sicarios until backup arrived. It wasn't a clean operation, but they'd gotten something: a notebook. Inside, partial addresses, code names, radio frequencies. The net was closing. The call came in just after noon, an intercepted radio transmission. Escobar was on the move, calling his son, talking too long. The signal came from a small neighborhood in Medellín, Los Olivos. Operators from the Colombian Search Block mobilized immediately. With them, watching from a command van just blocks away, were 2 Delta Force operators, coordinating, advising, scanning rooftops through high-powered optics. The house was surrounded within minutes. Inside, Escobar sensed the trap. He made a break for the rooftop, AK-47 in hand. But the moment he emerged, the sky lit up with gunfire. 3 shots, 1 to the torso, 1 to the leg, 1 to the head. Pablo Escobar died in a pool of his own blood, sprawled across a red tile roof. The world was told it was Colombian National Police who killed him, but those on the ground remember something else. They remember a flash of movement on a rooftop opposite the safe house, a glint of optics, a silent figure slipping away before anyone could ask questions. To this day, the US government denies that Delta Force ever operated in Medellín. No official records, no medals, no names. But whispers from retired DEA agents, Colombian officers, and even ex-Delta operators suggest otherwise. One Colombian general, speaking anonymously, said this: "Without the Americans, we would never have gotten him. The equipment, the training, the men, they were there." Another DEA agent, Javier Peña, hinted in interviews that other US assets were involved on the day Escobar died. Delta's silence is its signature. They don't need credit, they don't give interviews, they simply execute the mission and disappear. In the end, Escobar's empire fell not to armies, but to shadows. To a team that moved without names, without recognition. To soldiers who stepped into hell knowing they'd never be thanked, never be known. But they weren't there for medals. They were there for each other. For the mission, for the innocents buried in the rubble of car bomb, and for the oath they took long ago: no matter what, we go in,